around quite often on the show, was about whether you were allowed to have the shape and style of track that you wanted.
No, we weren't.
You weren't?
No, I mean, originally the design, this is one aspect of it which has always been, you know, a bugbear of mine. We designed a track for Towcester at the very start, which relied on the input of Nick Sava, Seamus Gorn, Jeff Seeley, and it was a greyhound people's track. Unfortunately, it got a bit sidelined. There was, you know, say, involvement from people outside who said it needed to be a lot wider than we thought it needed to be. Based it on the fact there was 8-dog racing, we didn't think it did, but it had to be done that way. Unfortunately, they had the power to grant licences. 2 years ago, Jeff Seeley said to me it wouldn't take.
If you're talking licences, are we talking greyhound board?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously it's a difficult position for Lord Hesketh and Kevin to be in. You know, they're listening to me saying, I know this fellow who can do a track, and he did a track for me at Walthamstow. They're being approached by a company who gave a fantastic presentation, no question about it. And they answered all the questions we had. I was very sceptical at the start. They put a fantastic presentation together, and I thought, well, perhaps they know what they're talking about. But it was probably, it cost too much money to do what they did. We had a much lower budget, we had more realistic, and I think a better track, because it ended up, the watering wasn't what I wanted, the sand wasn't what I wanted, and I say that the width of the track wasn't really what any of us wanted, to be honest. And I don't think it would take a fortune to sort it out, because you've got people in the game like Jeff Seeley, like Seamus Gorn, like Nick Sava, who would do it at cost.
And did it ever get in motion? Did the legs ever get going on that?
No, we had a trainers meeting last November where all the trainers unanimously asked for something to be done.
And that really sort of got a bit of momentum, didn't it, after the first derby?
Yeah. I mean, you know, the track was built on the lines of welfare, which at the end of the day, Lord Hesketh correctly identified as the biggest problem this sport has. It's got to be welfare friendly. And he was right on that. And the way the track, the shape of the track is obviously defined by what's there. You know, the stands are there, you can't put it anywhere else, it can't come closer, all this talk about it's too far away, it had to be where it was. The shape of it soon became evident to me that it wasn't quite what we wanted, we needed longer straights. Jeff Seeley said to me he had a plan to help rectify that, banking, one thing and another, which wouldn't cost a fortune in the whole light of things, but would make the track that little bit better for everyone, I think.
Okey-dokes.
You must have been very frustrated, though, and I think as well. And we've had it on, and there's people at home watching the show tonight thinking, "Gosh, how many times do we say, you know, the configuration of the track, everything, you know?" And but is it a case of when you knew in your heart probably, but it's here we go again?
Well, again, you've got people who've invested a lot of money in it. And it was a fantastic track. I mean, I think anyone who watched the racing there was the cleanest racing I've ever seen. Very rare dog got knocked over. Injuries were minimal. In the early part of this year, we had a terrible summer like everyone, and injuries have been high everywhere. But no, I was proud of the fact that the dogs were coming off and the injuries were very, very low. But it wasn't ideal, as simple as that. And I think in this sport, you know, you've got experts like Dave Houghton on hand. Jeff Seeley I called in to salvage what was going wrong 3 years ago. Did a fantastic job. Nick Saville was involved, he was frustrated, along with myself. So it's hard to say, you know, I couldn't force through my changes. I threatened to resign very early on, and this Jeff Seeley was brought in to make the track better. And Kevin reacted to that and said, yeah, okay, we will. Obviously, there's a cost involved in that. And like a lot of this, it's down to the cost.
There's a cost involved in everything.
Yeah.
We'll be out of a job if we don't have a winner here this